worth to be lost. Will be lost in the process.
All right, then. Let's now talk about education. You chair the Committee on Student Loan, and we know that the student loan has been in operation for some months now. How will you assess the performance of the initiative within the last, we call it 6 months now, that it's been operational?
Yeah, it's been operational since April. The bill signed in April, but 6 months, because the launching by Mr. President was done in July. I think it's been fantastic. The responses have been very good. The sensitization is improving by the day. Members of the community, the academic community are getting involved in it. The responses has also been very good, to the extent that I think on the average now, from what the MD said recently, new entrants into it is almost in thousands every day. So I imagine that in another 6 months, 1 year down the line, the numbers will be quite high. So really, it has achieved the purpose for which it is meant, which is that nobody should be out of school on account of not being able to pay school fees or not being able to sustain itself or maintain itself rather while in school. So that is going on. That is one policy of this government that has the chance of changing the education sector, in its entirety, in terms of students their mind being addressed to be able to pay their school fees, particularly those that cannot afford it. So I think the policy and then the scheme is achieving the purpose for which it is meant.
All right. And recently, Director General of Nelfund was actually appealing to Nigerians to key into the project. How much of sensitization do you suppose Nigerians need to actually buy into this and make it, their own?
Well, he's doing that because I think so far, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 400 and something thousand people, students, have enrolled, and we know that
it's actually more than 600,000 already.
Sorry?
I said it's actually more than 600,000 already, about 637,000 or so.
Yeah, the registration now, yes, is around around 600,000, that have registered, and I think the amount committed is in the excess of about 120 billion or thereabout. That is commitment, not disbursed. Disbursements, I don't have the exact figure of what has been disbursed now. So I will say that we can continue to. We definitely we need to do a lot more sensitization because the number of students that we have, this is probably not up to 5% of the number of students that we have in this country. So we expect that as we are going into the new year, after these 6 months of trying to put a very solid structure in place for the fund, we expect that as we are going into the new year, the sensitization will increase. So we expect that we are going to have a lot more people getting involved in it. And when I say people, I mean at all levels. I'm not just the students, because more often than not, what you have also seen is that students register, but then they may not apply for the loan. And what we are hearing is that in some section of the country, the idea of obtaining loan, people find it strange for education. And we are saying that, look, this one is just something that if you need to do it in order for you to be able to have a smooth education, and have your degrees and your certificates, and then paying back when you are very much comfortable. You should as well do it. This is what's happening in different parts of the world. So there's also a little bit of some cultural issues that is involved in it. That is why certain section of the country, imbibe it a lot more than the southern parts of the country. So we also need to continue to talk to ourselves so that people will get to know that this is just, a means of financing education in different parts of the world now. And Nigeria cannot be an exception.
Okay, we need to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll take it from there. Please stay with us on the program. Thank Thank you so much for staying with us. We are talking about the student loan and an array of other issues. And our guest is a lawmaker representing Yewa North and Imekwa from Federal Constituency in the House of Representatives, Boyega Isiaka. Thank you so much again, sir, for being there. Before the break, you were talking about the fact that some people are reluctant about the idea of obtaining loan. It doesn't seem to be a thing. People want to just own things. They want to be able to pay upfront. But let's look at some of the challenges that some people have encountered, applying for this. Some of the complaints about the students who are tempted to apply is that their schools, their institutions are not a part of the scheme. Are some schools excluded from the student loan scheme? And if yes, are there plans to expand to accommodate more institutions?
Well, for now, the scheme is meant for public schools, public institutions, public tertiary institutions and technical institutions, either owned by the federal or by the state government. Private institutions are not in the scheme as we speak. So if any public institution is not, enlisted, as it were, at this time, it will be due to administrative issues between Nelfund and the school, because there are certain things that will need to be done. You need to upload the details of your students into the website, into the portal rather of Nelfund, and then a few other approvals here and there. So if any public institution is not enrolled now, I'm sure it will be as a result of those administrative issues. Otherwise, the vote for fees, loan, and also for upkeep for all all tertiary institutions, either owned by federal or by state government. And I know that quite a number of students, of schools, have actually been part of this.
All right. And I was wondering if postgraduate students can actually apply for this loan. Postgraduate students, can they also apply?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. They are still students. They are still students once they meet other criteria, admission. Once they are students, yes. There is no discrimination as far as your level of institution is concerned. Once you are a student in Nigerian and also a student of a public tertiary institution, yes, postgraduate students can also apply.
All right, then, because I know that quite a number of PhD students, PhD candidates would really need some form of help to be able to pursue their thesis to reasonable ends, as it were. But then, how frequently does your committee interface with Nelfund to review activities, and what feedback do you get from them?
Well, like you said, like we all agree and we all know from what you said, this is just a 6-month-old agency. And, before you even start oversighting deeply, you at least allow the agency to settle down. So what we have done in the last 6 months was to be involved in the area of putting the policies and guidelines in place in terms of advisory and all of that. But of course, we have done one very comprehensive facilitating visit to the institution, and then we also done a number of public hearings and also a number of meetings with the management, just to ensure that, because the most important thing about this whole thing is that it is the foundation that is laid now that's going to determine the success of the institutions going forward. We are talking about 600,000 students. Out of a total of millions of students that we have. So in another 1 or 2 years, the system has to be strong enough, and that is what ourselves and the management have agreed among ourselves. Now, what is important at this time is to put in place a very solid foundation in terms of system, in terms of human capacity, in terms of guidelines, in terms of policies, and all of those, such that things can run very smoothly. And I think we are not doing badly in that regard between ourselves and Nelfund, and also the board of Nelfund. So those are the areas that we actually concentrate on at this initial stage. a relationship. But of course, in another year, of course, the issue of budget is also coming in. We're getting into the budget now. What budget are they going to run for 2025? How is it going to be run? What is our expectations in terms of number of students that will be enrolled? What's our expectations in terms of funding? What's our expectation in terms of, all those things? We're also going to have to do that now as we're going into a full year operation. So it's been a lot of work between ourselves and Nelfund, but of course also taking into consideration the fact that this is a new agency that needs to have a very solid foundation so that they can build on that as we are going into much more intense applications, a number of applicants, a number of disbursement, and the quantum of disbursement that they will need to do in the months and years ahead.
I hear you, but recently there was something the DG of Nelfund actually said, which has got a number of people talking, and it was about the fact that at the moment no course is excluded, but then he mentioned that in the future funding may prioritize fields that are considered sellable and exportable in order to make Nigeria's workforce more competitive. And I was wondering, would Nigerians not consider this position discriminatory coming from the DG?
Well, I didn't listen to that. I read something about that. I didn't listen to him to know exactly what is, in which context the statement was made. But the law of Nelfund, the law of the student loan that I was part of from beginning to the end that we have now, did not make any provision for such discrimination. What the law wants to do is that anybody that wants to be a graduate or wants to go to school that doesn't have the means, that need the loan, should be given the loan. That's what the law says. The context within which it makes that, I do not have it. I cannot talk about that. I cannot talk about that. But I do know that apart from the student loan, there are also scholarships that the federal government of Nigeria is running, either directly as in the ministry or even in some of the agencies. Some of those agencies are running scholarships, that are targeted at one industry or the other, or even given a particular level of performance in school. So all those ones are going on. I'm aware of that because the committee that I share also look at some of those scholarships. I do know about those ones. But in terms of Nelfund, what Nelfund does now is for everybody. That is the law that we have, and that is what we have. And I'm not aware of any attempt now or any proposal now to make changes to those laws. So like I said, I do not have the details of which context.
All right,
the NDD says that. So I would like not to talk about it more than that.
Okay, and as we wrap up, let's talk about the President's inaugural media chat. In the course of that interaction, he identified student loan as a very key factor in effort to fight and tackle corruption. How strategic do you consider this to be?
Well, it is because the whole idea is that let us discourage corruption. Let us discourage, pilfering. So if you are a civil servant or a public servant, and you need to pay the school fees of 3 or 4 kids, and they do not have, you do not have any means to do it, there is every tendency that you'll be tempted, to get into what is not supposed to be. So I think what the president is trying to say, which I agree with totally, is that here you are, you now have, a facility or an access, a facility that, that your children can access. To take them out of school, and they will not be required to make payments until they start working, up to a maximum of 10% of their revenue or whatever income they are earning. So it is just a way of trying to remove those things that can encourage corruption. And I think the student loan. Oh, of course, if you have kids in school that could not go to school or resumption is maybe a week or 2, and there's no means for you to do it. Even if ordinarily you are not supposed to, get into corrupt activities, there may be a tendency to do it. I think that is what the president is trying to say, and I think I quite agree with that. That this is one of those things that is being put in place to ensure that life is better, life is easier, life is more comfortable for public servants and for anybody that have children and students in school that has difficulties in paying their way out of school.
All right, then. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us on these different issues that we have x-rayed this evening. Boyegard Isiaka is a member representing Yewa North and Imekwa from Federal Constituency in the House of Representatives. Thank you so much for your time on the program.
Thank you very much, and Happy New Year in advance.
I wish you the very same. Well, that's our program today. Watch a repeat broadcast at midnight and at 6 a.m. I am Abosedi at Denira Duremi. Bye for now.